the author and spiritual leader, Dr. Deepak Chopra, has just written another book titled Reinventing the Body, Resurrecting the Soul. He joins us today from New York. Welcome to you, Doctor. And I must say, this is how many books for you now?
56.
56 books. And I would also add, most of them have been bestsellers.
Yes.
You talk about in this book letting the body heal itself. And we all know that you have kind of a spiritual kind of approach to healing. I think a lot of people miss the fact that you're also a medical doctor, and you were a medical doctor first before you took this approach. But what do you mean when you talk about reinventing our bodies?
Well, Bob, there's some very interesting recent research that shows that you can change the structure of your brain by training your mind. That shows that you can regulate your genes. You know, we have about 30,000 genes in our body. About 60% are the same as a banana, and 80% the same as a mouse, and 98.4% the same as a monkey. But we also have a consciousness which is very different. You can regulate your genes. There are 500 genes that code for or influence things like heart disease, inflammation, cancer, and many other disorders, including obesity and diabetes, and you can upregulate them, which means you can turn the good genes on and turn off the bad genes.
Right.
You can influence the length of your telomeres, which influence your aging. Now, if you can do all of that, and your DNA is in 100 trillion cells which make up your body, which is more than all the stars in the Milky Way galaxy, then you have access to the nanocomputers that actually create your body. And because you're recycling it once a year anyway, you can do it in a different way. So I mean it very literally, by the way.
Well, when you say you can, redo this, reprogram, I guess, your genes, where's the switch? How do I do this? How do I turn this on?
The study that was published in the National Academy of Sciences looked at three things: stress management, exercise, and diet. But what we are now finding out is not just the absence of stress, but your internal state of euphoria or joy or love or compassion that actually transforms into information and energy into your body. Your body is biological, but it's also a field of energy and information. So if somebody tells you, you know, the stock market just crashed and you have all your money in the stock market, that information immediately changes biological information. Your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate speeds up, your platelets get jittery, and your whole body, your immune system gets compromised. On the other hand, if you get the information that somebody is in love with you and that means something to you, that will internally generate a state of euphoria which triggers release of serotonin and opiates and oxytocin and dopamine, which are not only antidepressants, but enhance your self-esteem, but even more importantly, they're immunomodulators. They modulate the activity of the immune system. So in your consciousness, you have the keys to either disease or to health.
How do we get to that? Is it through, you said one thing you said is through our diets. Tell me some of the other ways we can do that, because I want to do that.
I think if you can feel inspired, enthusiastic, if you have insight, imagination, creativity, conscious choice making, love, compassion, generosity, these are the qualities of our spirit, but they're also states of information that directly translate into biological information. So, and you can do that by reading my book.
But what you seem to be saying here is something very simple, that if you're a good person and you try to be a good person, that might actually be good for your health.
Yes, morality is not only good for you and for society, it's actually very beneficial for your health. But not a self-imposed, self-righteous morality, but a true understanding of who you are, because you cannot live in isolation. Who you are is a confluence of relationships, meanings, and contexts. And there's no such thing as a separate self. You know, you're part of a universe where everything is connected with everything else. You're one energy field, one matter field, one consciousness field, and one mind field. So love and compassion and generosity, which are qualities of your spirit, are also things that connect you to the whole chain of being. You know, you're not a separate person.
What about the, all we talk about when we talk about health around here in Washington is the health care debate and this whole issue of health care.
Yeah.
How do you come down on all of that?
Well,
Does your philosophy fit into any of that?
Yes, the more I look at it, the more I realize it's not about healthcare reform, it's about insurance reform. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about healthcare. I do agree that you need insurance reform, you need public option. I totally support President Obama, but what we're not looking at, Bob, which is a very serious part of our healthcare system, is that it's the only system in capitalism which does not obey the laws of supply and demand, because we physicians, who are the suppliers, create our own demand. A doctor's pen is the most expensive technology. So you have a minor chest ache because you had an argument with your wife, and you go to the emergency room. Before you know it, you've had an EKG, a stress test, a 24-hour Holter monitor, God forbid, an angioplasty and an angiogram. There are 2.5 million unnecessary surgeries done a year. Mostly arthroscopies, back surgery, hysterectomy. $700 billion are spent on unnecessary tests. $100 billion on unnecessary cardiac surgery. 80% of the drugs we use are of optional and marginal benefit. 36% of patients who suffer from illness suffer from what is called iatrogenic disease, which is disease you have because you went to see a doctor, medically induced disease. Unless we address these problems, we're not talking about health reform.
All right. Well, Doctor, thank you very much for a fascinating discussion, and 54 books now.
56.
56 that he has written. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
and
you,
I'm
Bob.
sure you'll be writing some more.